Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer, episode number 61, and I am with Sridhar Chityala ji. It is December 26th. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram and good morning to you, sir. On a wonderful way, after 2 days of rains, we are back to bright and sunny New York. The temperatures are still cold, but it's bright and sunny.
Yes, sir. It has been raining here also, but it's today. I think it's going to be a dry day. We had a bit of a technical difficulty. That's why we had to start a few minutes late. We apologize for that, sir. We can jump straight into what is happening with COVID around the world. Now we have not just a second strain, but a third strain that seems to have emanated from South Africa in England. Where do things stand as far as the various strains, and would the current vaccine be able to cover them? What are your thoughts, sir?
Great. I think there was a little bit of panic last week or earlier this week when they noticed the second strain emanating from Britain, the southeast Britain, southeast England. Um, and now that the cases are being seen in Japan as well as in the United States and the rest of the world, while that is being tackled, the third variant has now been detected. The claim is that that's again in UK, and the claim is that it has probably originated from somewhere in South Africa through a tourist, which South Africa kind of denies. The second variant seems to have come into United States and few other countries as well. So the general theory is that the World WHO and other organizations are not jumping to any fatalistic conclusions. While the mutation is far more rapid than the first one, the theory is that they believe they can handle it with the current vaccination. But it needs to be tested, and we discussed it a couple of days ago whether it can penetrate through this clonal plasma transplantation mechanism, plus all the current people who are vaccinated, can immunity. But that we don't have data as yet to establish one way or the other way. The strain itself is being studied, but in the meanwhile, the general principle is the vaccination programs all around the world will commence or organize to commence, depending on whether you are in Europe. United States, it's already done. 1 million out of the targeted, 100 million, people in December. That looks like it's going to be delayed, but they seem to be fairly comfortable that they will be able to meet the March to April goals of trying to get this 100 million people vaccinated. So I think that's the general disposition. India seems to have, people who have interest in India seems to, be comfortable that they don't seem to have recognized these strains. And I think Indian programs, 4 trials kick off across 4 states with the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. I think India has a fairly good domestic capability.
Sir, this whole new instantiation of different variants, WHO appears to be again slow on the take, isn't it? Their statements, there appears to be again some sort of a reactive mode on part of WHO rather than being at the forefront of this. What are your thoughts on WHO?
Well, I think that I'm an avid critique of WHO. I just want to be upfront about it. The variant one or the first one version itself, there's a lot of contradicting reports. The fact that, it slipped under their sun, or slipped under their eyes, when, dates that is being indicated is going back to middle of last year and also, around the last quarter. So I feel that, not to be overtly judgmental, but personally, I feel that WHO is far less organized, it seems, relative to many countries. The countries and independent research organizations have taken, far more active step. For example, in the United States, when Trump launched the Project Warp Speed program, he pre-funded, 4, 5, 6 of these institutions to come up with a vaccine program. So therefore, research has to be done by looking at the stains and the virus cell structure. India seems to have taken the lead and doing things in India. Germany seems to have taken lead and doing. Israel, if you recall, they were coming up with swabs and different type of personal protection, PPEs, personal protective respiratory machines. So therefore, you have um, each of these countries with their respective facilities. When you expect WHO to be far ahead of the game in these types of understanding the pandemic type of diseases emanating in the world.
Sir, let's take a look at United States. There was this massive explosion in Nashville, and what information that we are now getting is that it was a recreational vehicle, also called as an RV. For those viewers who are not familiar with what an RV looks like, an RV is something that you can sleep and drive at the same time, meaning like you can sleep at night on the same vehicle. And they have this has been used as a recreational vehicle by many Americans to go around the country. And looks like this was parked in Nashville, and there was some sort of a indication that it was going to blow, because they were having announcements coming out 15, 14, 13. The countdown happened, and then the blast happened. And luckily the human damage is not that much, but there have been questions whether there was a human remains found around the vehicle. Where do things stand now? Is this a case of someone deliberately setting it off, or is there more that one should look into it, sir? What are your thoughts?
Right, I think it happened around 6:30 in Nashville CBD. The sequence of events is about an hour and a half prior. They had some gunshots. The police were responding to the call for the gunshots. When they landed, they had this message blowing out from this RV vehicle, which is to say, if you are listening to this message and if you are in the nearby vicinity, get out, because there's going to be a blast in 15 minutes. Lo and behold, they believe that this message may have been coming out from this parked vehicle, which we are alluding to. The blast did occur. The initial investigations, the way they say it, the way the police, the press reports indicate, it is meant to be intentional. It is meant to be to cause less damage, but to deliver some kind of a message. So therefore, it seems to have met all those kinds of conditions. There was no 3 people were injured, massive blast. Okay, but the communication center, I think it's the AT&T or Verizon, one of those buildings blew out. Had a massive damage, and there was a lot of communication issues around the CBD of the downtown area of Nashville. Plus, also, I think the flights got canceled. So, to answer your question, it seems they're very clearly indicating it's intentional. It seems that it was meant to be, not to create a massive damage. Otherwise, they could have unleashed. It was on a Christmas Day morning. And now they have found traces of some human remains, So therefore, whether it is connected, one doesn't know. But it's very unfortunate that it has now, this type of stuff has come into downtown United States. So I think it's worrisome in terms of. So we will have more details as the investigations move on.
Sir, Donald Trump from Mar-a-Lago has made a statement about the behavior of the big tech companies, and he said, America, these are early signs of communism from the way they have been monitoring and filtering news. What prompted him to say this thing, sir? What is the background around this? Do you have any idea? Can you shed some light for us?
Well, I think that the background is that there's been 2 things that he has been, 3 things he has been making noise on, right? The first thing that he's making noise on, that he blocked the budget. He blocked the defense budget bill that was sent by the Republicans to Republican managed Senate to him. And the condition that he has said, that the fundamental thing that is at the centerpiece of the national security is the tech platforms and their behavior. Some of their actions are causing national security issues. So this liability immunity protection, which comes from Article 230, has not been negated, has not been taken out. So therefore, I'm not signing. So he has vetoed that bill. So he's now following up on that. And he is stating that, look, these guys are coming up with our own arbitrary set of rules and effectively have become what they call independent fact checkers, and basically either asterisking or deleting these messages which they are not supposed to be. Because if you remember, Ted Cruz was asking the question, are you content, are you a platform, or are you a media company? If you're a media company, are you a regulator? Because if you're a regulator, you can impose conditions, what goes in, what doesn't go in. But if you're a media aggregator, you can determine what you want to send, what you don't want to send. They kept on insisting they are a platform. They are not either of these two things. Should that be the case, then he's getting the message that if this is going to be, with the Senate races looming large, right, and contentious and very critical, he is saying, are you guys therefore going to take an active, subjective kind of a position and blocking all the messages which is prejudicial to one side of the party? I think that's this kind of message that he's trying to get out, right? If you guys don't understand, this is how socialism comes in, because if you don't have the message from the master, the message is blocked.
And combine this with Biden's statement that he is going to provide free community college education, and some conditional public education also is going to be provided free. It's a good thing in my opinion, but it's also another sign of socialism. When he says conditional public, university free education for university, did you get some details into that? Is he trying to say that public colleges such as University of California, Berkeley, LA, and all that some people are going to get free education there? Did you get a chance?
Moving towards that. That's the progressive agenda. He seems to be moving towards that, which is to say that certain sections of the society have been left, are neglected and have been deprived the opportunity, basically because of their economic welfare. So therefore, they remain where they are. The economic upliftment has not happened. The academic upliftment has not happened. So therefore, why we are discriminatory to them? So we should be offering all the kind of support, not just food stamps, unemployment insurance, and other benefits. It should start very early, which is education. Very similar to the public schooling system here, which is everybody in a public school, gets a free education. Technically, it's not a free education, but people don't get it. You pay taxes. It's called as village and school taxes. Wherever you live, that basically funds the school system. So I think California already has some form of a state-based educational system, which not only fixes a quota for within state, but also has some what you call differentiation in the fee structure between those who belong to state, those who don't belong to state. So he may use some variances of that ilk in terms of including the neglected sections of the society. So that's my guess based on the extension of the program. It's a policy statement rather than more details that's being flushed out as to what exactly the program is.
Sir, taking a look at US elections, can you please just bring us up to date on what has been happening in the last few days? There has been some activity in Wisconsin, then something about Sidney Powell. Could you please run down the details on where things stand as far as the United States election is going?
Yeah, United States elections is, I think, the greatest comedy show that is going on. I think we have made ourselves pretty much a laughing stock. Case after case that gets filed gets declined for one reason or the other. The other hilarious case is that the Senate runoff elections, when people said the drop boxes, which has had extensive set of fraud, should be open for limited hours. So you have a liberal or a Democratic judge, leaning judge, passing a regulation. No, it should be for all the time. So it should be open all the time. So therefore, you have a judgment of that. How far that kind of. Then you have the secretary and the governor saying, well, we should look at whether we should offer postal ballots as a genuine absentee, or anyone should be offered a postal ballot at whim. So today, the question that comes up is those who are even entitled, are capable to come to a polling station and vote, are sitting in the back and saying, give me an absentee ballot, right? Nobody knows whether it is harvested or whether it is genuine. So you have that particular case going on. As far as Wisconsin lawmakers are concerned, they tried to block the certification of presidential electors that got declined. So you're finding more and more these cases being declined, basically because it becomes procedural, it's probably late. And I think the objective of these cases is not around the decline rate. The objective of these cases is to demonstrate tomorrow, if there is a reversal in the election, when people go back to the courts have created a precedence of dismissing all these cases. It's going to be very interesting. Let's say President Trump, there is a reversal, President Trump, by the January 6th process in the House and the Senate, is nominated to be the president overruling. What happens on those circumstances? Can the states or can anybody go to either the SCOTUS or to the respective courts to turn? You have all these declines that has happened. So they've created a precedence in terms of the structure, which basically is going towards a converging point around what happens on the January 6th. So that's how one has to read these cases. Otherwise, they won't be going after relentlessly. Just on the same point, President Trump has again indicated he is not giving up. So therefore, he's still in the game and he's going to fight and he's going to make that happen. With regard to Sidney Powell, I gather that she has issued a statement, which is that she was to be nominated as the special counsel for investigating the election fraud. She is saying the White House staff are blocking her efforts to aid Trump. So she's gone kind of public with that statement.
So there are some internal dissensions in the White House itself. That's what it's coming out to the fore, and we'll wait and see how it plays out. Viewers, this is unconfirmed news. A senior Democrat congressman has been taken into custody in Los Angeles. We are still awaiting details. Maybe by Monday we'll have more data on this one. It's a very, very fast moving situation. This happened on the 24th of December. We don't have all the details yet, but if that should happen, that would be a huge blow for the Democrats, because this individual involved was front and center when the what was the thing with Trump, when the impeachment happened of Trump. So this is huge. It could be a huge embarrassment for the incoming Democratic administration if this were to turn out to be true. So we will keep you posted. Stay tuned. Sir, let's take a look at India. India now, many economists are expecting or predicting a V-shaped recovery. What are your thoughts, sir? You are a banker.
No, I think that, thank you for, many are expecting a growth somewhere between 8 to 10% in the 21-22 financial year, both as a result of the prior stimulus, the pent-up demand, as well as the investment flows that has come in. It's a question of opening up the markets. And they're also picking up a fair amount of export orders in at least three segments. One is the pharma, the second is in the auto, and it seems like even in the other manufacturing areas, they seem to be picking up the orders. Also, prior to the agricultural agitation that is there, the agro sector was expected to grow at 18% in the next financial year on the back of a bumper crop, as well as the general demand in the markets. Rice, which had not been exported to China, has for a long time. There's a huge order from. That's one of the few items where the trade is happening between the two countries, between China and mainly India. Right, most of the other areas, manufacturing and other areas, they're progressively kind of slashing or putting a blockade in terms of the orders. China is not going to stop the rice because they need to feed people, and China is not self-sufficient in the food sector, so it is reliant on exports from around the world or imports from around the world. So I think the general disposition of the Indian economy seems to be, and that's confirmed by about close to about 30% of the chief marketing officers of various product companies, they see the spurt in the demand.
Sir, while we are on the topic of China, there was a story in Epoch Times yesterday where they were showing that the Chinese army has once again intruded into some areas, some grazing areas of India, and that when the locals who are nomadic in habit, when they went back to graze there, that the Chinese were turning them away. They were talking to them, and the locals were quickly connecting with the local administration of India to try and set this thing right. Can you throw a little bit more light, sir? What is this thing again? Is China up to its tricks again in the border?
I think so. I think I tweeted this to both, Dr. Jaishankar as well as to Secretary Pompeo. Hey, China seems to be very much inside India in this border up in the Leh tribal area in the regions, in the hills, right up in the hills where the day temperatures are minus 15 degrees centigrade. Right, so this is very, very cold. So these farmers who graze or nomads who graze, typically they say they don't go into that terrain, but the food shortage in the area forced their cattle and themselves to step into the area, which is their traditional thing. When they go to that area within the, we can put that video up. The specific location. The guy actually sent live from that location. So you have this occasional trucks and the local tribals saying that you didn't come, you can't come here, this area belongs to us and you need permission. They were trying to drive them away. They seems to have occupied. So China seems to have this habit of slowly and steadily pinching land as they see. They are always lurking, and they say that it's not more than around 15 villages around that specific segment in the upper Leh regions. So, as I said, I've tweeted, and it's a cause for concern, which is namely, there is no universal respect for sovereignty of any nation by China. There is nothing. I mean, that is all their actions kind of reflect. So this is a problem. I also tweeted to Honorable Minister Rajnath Singh, which is to say, hey, this message is coming from United States media, right, with a video link. I'm sure you guys are aware of it, and you're going to do something about it.
Yes, indeed. And viewers can get this video. It was written by Venus Upadhyaya, who has been a guest on our channel in the past. So you can get it if you go to the Epoch Times. It's free subscription if you want to subscribe to their newspaper and media. And you can get all the news, including this particular video. Sir, let's take a look at the farmers' agitation. Modi has promised 18,000 crores to the farmers. And also the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said, why don't you let this thing get in place, and then in 1 or 2 years we can revisit and tweak the laws. So at least the government appears to be trying to do something to settle this thing and move forward, given the fact that only 1 or 2 states are opposing and the rest of the country is behind the law.
Well, I think that the first and foremost, the Prime Minister apparently had, I only saw brief glimpses of it, addressed at least those members of the Farmers Union and other members, as well as the some of the states farmers in terms of all the programs. These guys agitating farmers seems to have vandalized, according to one report, some of those regions. And he also announced this 18,000 crores of relief for the 9 crore farmers. When you actually look at the reform itself, and which is encapsulated in the report published by PGurus with eminent people who are supposed to be subject matter experts in these, the reforms only helps. Okay, they're trying to make a demand which even the mainstream Indian media in the vertical financial journals are reporting that they should not concede to this ubiquitous unilateral MSP, some 50%, 60% markup relative to already the MSP, which will effectively bankrupt the country. So they're saying not to concede. So the demand seems to be the demands that they're laying out seems to be anything other than reforms, but more seems to be political. I myself, I'm today we are in the venture capital private equity industry. We run a very small, what we call as the aggregator service out of California, which effectively connects what we call growers to buyers, the growers being the farmers to the buyers. I can tell you that barring the only criteria which is regulated by the Californian state government, which is making payments to the farmers in less than 60 days, which is a mandate, otherwise it's punished by the buyers, the demand has outgrown, and the farmers and the buyers are extremely happy. They don't know each other in this marketplace for obvious reasons. So the marketplace connects the two pieces. I don't understand as to how a reform which connects the growers directly to the buyers through an auctioning process will be what I call a derailer in the development of this ecosystem, rather than purely being dependent. Plus, also, I'm told that it is national. So, in other words, here we don't have such boundaries that California produces. That means you can't sell it in New York. You can have food hubs around the country. You can move the food into the food hubs and then use the food hubs as the vehicle to distribute and do the sale to a central marketplace. So the problem here is I'm not able to understand that why you can't sell your groceries or food that you produce to some other states, which if there is a demand for it.
Yes, sir.
A farmer is producing food to sell to the people in the country. He's not selling it overseas.
Yes, indeed. And viewers, stay tuned. There's going to be a couple of new online websites that are going to be offering this specific feature for the farmers. I have been connected with one such effort, and stay tuned. This is going to come, and we will be talking more about it in the days and weeks to come. Sir, let's take a quick look at, now we should wind down because we're already 28 minutes into the program, sir. Couple of things, India and Vietnam. India is assisting Vietnam in helping them combat their ongoing floods, and they're also doing exercises with the Vietnamese Navy. So can you just spend a couple of minutes looking at what is India-Vietnam relationship, and it appears to be on the ascending.
India-Vietnam relationship is ascending in across three specific dimensions. One is the security parameter. They were one of the first people to buy BrahMos missiles. And they have surface-to-air BrahMos missiles with them docked and parked or to be parked in the Vietnamese border to mitigate any kind of Chinese incursions. They're expanding that further on the basis of what they are seeing is the increasing incursions by the Chinese into the Taiwanese kind of airspace. Also, the arrival of Biden and the lack of communication around the future of Quad is sending some shivers down the spines of many people in the South China Sea. The South China Sea, I have personally stated, was a blowout during the Obama years, right? The development of Spratly Islands, which is now a huge naval base for China, plus all the different things that occurred around the South China Sea, the 9-dot line violations, the incursions into Philippines, the ICJ ruling, etc. So I think India is forming strategic partnerships with different countries. Indonesia is forming one. India, Japan already has. India, Vietnam is very strong. And India, Vietnam is also now helping in the humanitarian efforts, which is namely, the flood. The Indian naval ships are helping them in the relief and rescue type of operations. You may also see India helping them in the COVID situation with their vaccinations. So we are going to see more and more closer and closer India Far East or East strategy being implemented, and in the absence of a defined Quad approach, and probably Vietnam will be leading that on the eastern tip, and of course Japan, further in the south.
And India is also opening an air pocket corridor with South Korea that would facilitate movement between the two countries, sir.
Indeed. I think that the South Korean one is an interesting kind of an initiative, which is, South Korea is one of the big manufacturing partners of India, right? The access to South Korea gives them a two-step approach in terms of potentially defending Taiwan in the event of issues. So you are seeing Japan pulling in Germany now. They want a German naval carrier to come in and do joint exercises with them. This is on the back of the HMS from Falcon that came from Britain. So you had that. So you have a number of activities that are going on in the region, and that is a reflection of, especially the India-South Korea, is basically for the seamless movement of the business people, But it also probably has a defense deterrence in terms of the facility that they may use. South Korea is not fully equipped as much as. By the way, there was also incursions into South Korea by the Chinese, right? So we saw that too. So.
And also, we might add on Taiwan, 19 aircraft from China and Russia flew into Taiwan airspace, and when they were challenged, they said that this is routine. So make what you want of that, but again, China is back to flexing its muscles. So one must be wondering why India is supplying rice to China when China is again trying to be, applying their salami tactics to try and grab land. And we don't know what is the status of the so-called meetings between Indian and their Chinese counterparts on resolving some of the borderline issues. No update yet, but we hope to have it in a couple of days' time. Sir, this brings us to the end of today's program. If there's anything that you would like to add before we sign off, please do so, sir.
Great. No, thank you so much. I think the only thing that I would say is that what you're seeing happening around this India, Vietnam, Japan, Taiwan, Japan, then Korea, India is all a backstop measure just in case the Quad, which was the epicenter and pillar of the security strategy in South China Sea, if it falters, is there a backup strategy? And so they don't commit the mistakes. I think that's one thing. And the last thing that I would like to kind of say on the markets, we have no resolution on the stimulus package.
Yes, indeed, and that's another interesting situation. We also should tell people that our viewers that the defense bill also was rejected by Donald Trump because the clause for taking out Section 230 of the Communications Bill was not included in that bill, and he wanted that included because he wanted that removed so that the social media companies are subjected to the normal scrutiny that would be subjecting all the media companies, because once a media company starts filtering data, they need to be judged also differently. So lots of stuff happening. Thank you again for joining us at this short notice. Sridhar ji, my apologies for the slight delay in the beginning. Now, viewers, we'll be back again on Monday, the 28th. So tomorrow we are off. Today's thing was important because there's so much new information that happened over the last couple of days. We thought it's important to share with you. Your support has been overwhelming. Thank you very much. Subscribe to our channel, donate to our cause. As always, Sridhar ji, it's a pleasure to have you on our channel. Namaskar, and see you again on Monday.
Namaskar. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.